Hi everyone, welcome to Make Moments Matter, a music education podcast, where I share lesson ideas, songs, games, and inspiring things for your elementary music classroom. My name is David Rao, and I am the music teacher who blogs at makemomentsmatter.org. This episode of the podcast is a replay containing the audio version of a Musical Mondays live video. If you're not familiar with Musical Mondays, every Monday night at 8 p.m. Eastern Time, I go live on Facebook and Instagram to share about the lessons that I'm using in class with my students. I give a recap of my kindergarten through 5th grade lessons, and then do a deep dive about one grade level and share the books, instruments, songs, and process that I use to teach the lesson to kids. This podcast episode contains all the audio from the Musical Mondays video, but if you'd like to see a replay of the video itself, you can find a link to the archived video on YouTube when you click the link in the notes for this episode. Thanks so much for tuning in. Here's the show. Hey everyone, my name is David Rao, and I'm the music teacher who blogs at makemomentsmatter.org. You can also find all my ideas on Facebook, on Instagram, Twitter, Pinterest, TikTok, and a variety of other places when you search for my name, David Rao, or Make Moments Matter. So tonight in the Musical Mondays video, I'm going to be answering some of the questions that you all have left about things that maybe we've talked about this semester, or maybe just things that you are thinking about right now. And so if you have a question that you didn't add to the question list, go ahead and add it in the comments and I will try and get to it. But I'm just going through some of the questions that folks have left before. So just as always, if you hear me talk about a game or a resource or a book or something that you're interested in, I have a whole page on my blog dedicated to the links and things that I share. It's at the bottom of where the caption of wherever you're watching, listening to this video, there should be a direct link. But if not, you can go to my blog, makemomentsmatter.org, and click the video tab and find it there in the bottom. Okay, so let me jump right into some of these questions. They're really fun, interesting questions. And so let me see if I can, I'll get to as many of them as I can. And so basically I just asked folks at the end of last week, like, hey, if you're interested, go to this Google form, ask any sort of question you might be thinking about, or something about the semester, or like what's going on. But like I said, if right now you have a question, drop it into the comments. Okay, so this is a fun one to start with. And I would say who asked this, but I can't look the comment next to the name for some reason right now on Google Forms. Don't know why. Okay, so the question is, instruments. I'm really struggling with students refusing to follow the expectations, routines, and basic techniques. When I say refuse, I mean rolling eyes, arguing, etc. I demonstrate, I use visuals, and remind students of how to be most successful, but I notice they just don't seem to care or be extremely stubborn, playing with one hand, playing in the end of the bar, hands drop below the bar, sitting with questionable posture, not sure how to describe, etc. One day I did a demonstration of playing my guitar incorrectly and we discussed why it mattered. I make connections to sports and why technique matters. My question is, should I just let it go or should I continue to try and help the students understand and improve? How would you handle that? That is a really interesting question. And it comes down, the answer is, I don't know. And the answer is, it depends on your priorities and it depends on what you want for your students. So, I guess, from what you've described, it sounds like you have explained the correct technique. You have gone through all of that. You have told them why. You have explained, and there are still kids who are not following directions or not doing good procedure. And so it kind of comes to a point where, like, is this a hill you want to die on? Like, is this something that is so foundational and fundamentally important to you in your classroom that you will go to the mat for it? And I think there are things like that. I think that there are things that we have to really fight for and push for. If I'm thinking about like something from elementary school, from like the classroom teacher's perspective, if a student is, as they're learning handwriting, or as they're learning, the sounds of letters or how things go together, all of those are foundational that will be built on for the rest of their life. Those are things that you really, really, really want to push, like a system or a process or something to help them, because it is so foundational. And so I think that that's something that, like, from the classroom is something that I think of, like, especially handwriting, because I see a lot of kids with, like, wonky handwriting. And I know that that's a push at our school in the last couple of years. Handwriting, why is it important? How do you do it? And so that's something I think about. When I think about the music classroom, there are only a handful of things that I would really and truly fight for. I think one of those things would be how we work together as a group, how you interact with other kids, how you interact with other people, especially as it pertains to like folk dance. That comes up a lot in folk dance, or small groups. I think that that's maybe the one biggest thing that I think that I would go to the mat for would be to ensure that kids are always treating each other with respect and participating as much as possible. The tricky thing about music teaching, and I say this to people when I talk especially about improvisation, the tricky thing about music teaching is you have to push the content, yes, and you have to have structure, yes, but because it's a music classroom and you're asking kids to improvise or create or work, and you're asking them to be creative, they can't do that in an environment where they don't feel safe or where they don't feel able to put that foot forward. So when you push a kid on anything, that strains your relationship with them a little bit. If they're in the wrong, or if it's like I think it matters. Like for younger kids, for K1 and 2, you can push back a little bit more. You can have more guiding, redirections and things like that, and it doesn't hurt your relationship. But I think with older kids especially, the more you push them, the more you single them out, the more you do things that are specific to them, it sort of causes fissures in your relationship. And if you want them to be creative, if you want them to be improvisers, if you want them to feel comfortable, it takes sort of more subtle response. So I happen to have a Sonar Smart Series instrument here with me today. So if students came and they were not showing good technique, I think that my response first would be to, yes, continue to give good feedback about how to play correctly or how to have good technique. I would definitely keep pushing that, but I would do more of a general everybody and less of a specific you, the one kid, you're the one doing it. I'm going to keep hounding you and hassling you. And I would just do it for like everybody. So if a kid is holding their sticks down and their stick is hitting the bar, I might stop and be like, okay, watch this. Let's listen to two different things. Ooh, great. Listen to this one. Now the second one makes interesting sounds. That's true. It does make an interesting sound. And if we wanted to have that sound, that's one thing. But if you accidentally are making that sound, that's probably not something that you want. If it's only an accident, I mean, we learn from accidents. A lot of composers have learned really cool things about different sounds they can make. But if we're not trying to get that sound, we don't want to have that sound. So you want to make sure that your elbows are up, because you want only the mallet part or the ball part of the mallet to be the part that hits the instrument. I mean, that's the sound you want. You don't... Because it also sort of maybe sounds like you accidentally hit the wrong thing. And I want you to all sound very accomplished and like you know exactly how to play. So got to be really careful that if you do hear that sort of a clicking sound, just raise your elbows a little bit. And we want to make, because we don't want to have that sound. So let's try and avoid that. So it'd be a more general thing. If they keep doing that, I would maybe say like, I would just have simple reminders. Oh, remember, raise those elbows. Or I might even say like, oh, you know what? I found some people are doing this really, really super well. Let's pair off. And if you, with the person next to you, check and play for each other and let's see how it sounds. And if they have the thing where their elbows come down, give them a little lift and help them remember. So instead, it's not me being the one doing the redirecting. It's a whole group redirection, or if it's small groups, or kid reminding kid. And that can be really, really beneficial when one kid helps another kid remember how to do it. Because it feels less stressful coming from another kid to get that redirection. Okay, another thing you said, playing with one hand. I just make this so silly. Oh my gosh, you did that so great with one hand. I know you can, but just as a challenge, can you do it with the other hand? Or whatever they're supposed to play, right? that's the one that we were just doing in my 5th grade. So maybe go, ooh, can you do it with the other hand? Can you do it with both hands? And again, I make it less of a redirection, more of a game. Okay, you can do it with one hand, but just for my sake, can you do it with two? Just try it. And again, if not, have a student leader go by and be like, ooh, remember, 2 hands. Or just generally reinforce and not stress. Let's see, another thing you said. Questionable posture. All kids have questionable posture, I feel like, these days. Playing on the end of the bar. Okay, you could talk about how sometimes if you're playing on the end of the bar will pop off, and you really don't want that to happen when you're in the middle of a song. And so how can you could, again, I think it sounds like you're giving all of these, redirections and you're helping kids remember. It would just be, I think, the way that you do it. Consistency, always, the more you do it is better. Having a kid do the redirection rather than you, redirecting a whole group of students and not just one student. I think those are all things that would be helpful. But again, it just depends on the kid. And if they flat out refuse, what then? What's your response? Is your response to be like, no, you don't get to play unless you play it the way I want? I don't know. I think that's a big gonna shut everything down. So I think it's just gentle reminders over time. If they end up not playing correctly and they go on to secondary music where they play a pitched percussion instrument, let that teacher deal with it. Be like, oh man, this elementary teacher doesn't know how to teach technique. Whatever, you do. But if they go on and it becomes an issue, whatever. If it is only an issue in your class, it's not that huge of an issue. They'll either self-correct or they won't, and they're still playing, right? I don't know. I think it depends on how it really becomes how far do you want to go? Is that the hill you want to die on? Is that something you really want to push the relationship over? And it all depends. So the answer is, I don't know. The answer is to try a lot of different things and push a little bit, see what happens, use some of those techniques, see what happens, and then it's just over time. It just takes time, and it sounds like you're doing all the things anyway. This is just me encouraging you, saying keep at it, because the more that you can encourage those kids and keep them playing, the better it's going to be. It just takes time. Okay, let's see. Another question on here. Someone said, assessment is a big focus right now for my district and region. I am now being required to provide pre-test, post-test, and other assessments throughout the year. Additionally, I will not be able to administer any assessments for my subject so as not to skew the data. My district is looking at Music First. However, I have never heard of it. Any tips on it for assessment or resources to use for assessing? I feel like my answer to this is going to make me sound like a bad teacher. But my answer is, I would do what my district requires with the least amount of effort possible. Because I know that there are people out there who very adamantly believe in pre-post test. If you talk to music learning theory folks, they have a big, it's so much of what they do is based on testing, assessment, and understanding. But I think and I'm generalizing here, in the world of general music, we have less of an emphasis on assessment and more of an emphasis on experience. And so I don't keep pre-test, post-test data because so much of what I am interested in, singing voice, ability to keep the beat versus rhythm, ability to work in groups, ability to work independently in groups, that's not something you can assess with a paper pencil test. A kid may be able to identify a treble clef at sight. Cool, but that's not going to show me whether they're actually good musicians, right? Anybody can identify a cymbal. Or maybe you can match the F with forte and P with piano and MF with mezzo forte or whatever. Great, but that's again a small thing. So the thing that I think is the most tricky about this is that a lot of districts are like, well, we want hard data and we want it to be, you can't do the assessing. Well, okay, then that basically means that you're not going to get true data because nobody else in your building has the assessment skills that you do for your subject matter. And so much of that assessment happens informally, or it happens on the fly, or it happens orally, like it's not a written assessment. None of the skills that my kids are learning in elementary music are accessible by paper pencil. None of the, again, vocal technique, beat versus rhythm, ability to play in groups, ability to be independent in groups. You can't assess that with paper. So this makes me sound like a bad teacher, but like I would do whatever my district thinks that I need to do. I would do the bare minimum, and then I would, on my own, if I really do care about that data, I would keep my own records. I would say like, okay, listen to this class today. This many kids can sing on pitch. These ones can't. I would mark that down. I would keep it. And that's actually data that is valuable to me. I did a steady beat assessment. I wanted to see how many kids could walk to the steady beat. These kids can. These kids can't. I would keep that data. But that is not what your district is asking for. They're asking for something that can be assessed by someone else on paper pencil or on iPads or whatever. And that really just doesn't apply to us. And they're trying to do this cool thing where like district wide, we get the same thing. It's same for everyone. But that's not really equitable for the arts. It doesn't really apply in the same ways to us. It's like saying like, hey, again, PE, let's do an assessment, paper pencil assessment. That doesn't matter. PE, this like throwing, catching, running, moving, whatever. Like you can have kids sit down and write like jogging, running, whatever, or like talk about like fitness, but like it doesn't really show you where they are. It doesn't show you their hand-eye coordination. It doesn't show you their ability to do things the most. So like, yeah, I would do what my district thinks is important, and then I would not waste my super valuable time stressing about that. Sorry, that sounds like a bad answer. Okay, someone on Instagram asked, what are your thoughts about national board certification? I think it's a lot of work, and I think it is only valuable if it is valuable to you. That's not true. I have heard people say it is the most valuable professional development they have ever done. But I know it is a lot of time, it is a lot of money, it is a lot of stress, and it is not valued in some states. In some states, you get a huge pay bump if you're national board certified. In other states, they don't care. In some states, you get a super big pay bump, or not even super big. I say super big. You get a pay bump if you have a master's degree. Others don't care. So I would say it's great if your school district or your area values it and they think that it's worth the time. I have people who did it because they were required, because what would get them the pay bump, and they said, oh my gosh, this was super valuable PD, I really appreciated it. Now if I were to do it on my own, if I had to choose, I would probably do it. But it's a lot of money and it's a lot of time and it's a lot of stress. So having not gone through it, I don't personally want to do it right now, just because there is no payoff other than PD, and I have a lot of really great ways to find super valuable PD in ways that help me make connections with either my local music ed community or the greater community, or something else that so national board certification just isn't the route that I personally want to take, just because of how it connects with me and my school and my PD points. Okay, students are working in groups. You need to get their attention. Any tips? I don't like hollering or clapping an echo pattern. I've tried instruments, but I misplace it while I wander around the room. Okay, so I know some people who get like the doorbell, where they plug in like a doorbell and then they have a little button that's on their lanyard, and whenever they press that, the kids have to respond. That's fine. I know some people who I have a variety of instruments. Anytime I play an instrument to get their attention, that's how I get the kids' attention. There are a lot of instruments you can use for that if you want. Some people use signals. I did a master class with Chris Judah Louder, who is amazing, and she said in her upper elementary and middle school class, all she would do is just stop and wave, and kids would eventually sort of get that and would do it. It did not work as well in my classroom with my younger kids, but with my older kids it sort of worked. So I would say try a bunch of things. I personally like the instrument. I don't mind the clapping pattern, but I don't stop at. I do one of those because they are trained to hear that. In so many classrooms, they are used to hearing that pattern and repeating it. So I do that, and then I do. And then I might go to padding. And then I might do a combo. So I'll do 3 or 4 examples because by the 3rd or 4th example, almost all kids are doing it. But I might start with that clapping pattern, and I know it's kind of annoying at first, but it works, and it is curricular, and it's actually what we work on with kids. So like, I just take it and I'm like, yeah. Mm-hmm. But it's just training, and it's over time getting the kids used to that procedure. And once they do, your life's a lot easier. What do you do when you're feeling uninspired or overwhelmed? What kind of activities do you use on days when you're either completely empty or have no voice? And I think this pairs really well with someone else's question, which is, I am deep into K-5 winter programs from now through December 20th, which is my birthday. So happy concert day on my birthday. Thank you for scheduling it on my birthday. That was very thoughtful. What advice do you have to help me hit the ground running with my lessons when students return from winter break? I'm looking for a great hook to pull them back into curriculum after spending the past 2 months working on program music. Okay, so both of those are like, what do you do when? And I think for both of them, my answer is I try and do something that I think is fun or that the kids really like. So when and this happens a lot where it's like you have your normal rotation. Oh, and then poof, there's a weird day where you have an extra class and it's off the rotation. So I don't really want to teach anything that like depends on the sequence because it's kind of out of sequence. And so it's like, what do you do there? A lot of times I will pull something that we have already done. So I might pull, and it's usually a dance or a game. I will pull a dance or a game that we have already done, either in this current year or the previous year, or maybe a couple years back. Because kids like to do that again. They like to rehash and retry old games. They really, really like that. So when I'm having either an off day or I want to feel more inspired or excited, or, like maybe they've just come off and I need to like pull them back in, I bring something they've already done, and either we just do it as it was or we add a new element to it. So maybe we do like a dance we've done before and we add like, hey, let's add, what other thing could we do here? Instead of swing your partner, what could we do? Could we change something? And we, like maybe add or modify just to make it more exciting. Or just different. But even kids would probably just be like, let's do it as it was. It has the fun game in the middle and great, let's try. So a lot of kids are just totally up for just replaying the thing they've already done. Another thing that I like to do is just have a folk dance or something that we've not tried before that is similar to something we have. So it's not like I'm teaching a brand new skill. It's just like another way to implement that skill. So for example, maybe we did a folk dance where it's a circle dance and you have a partner in the circle and you have to do the things with your partner. Well, maybe then I'll teach them a song where it's a circle dance where it's a mixer where they have to switch partners. Maybe we've done a mixer before. Maybe I just teach another mixer. They like being able to take like, oh my gosh, this reminds me of I Let Her Go. Yet you're right. It is very similar in that you're in a circle and you do a mixer, so like kids don't mind rehashing things or doing different versions of them. That's something I really, really love to do. Another thing, and this goes especially to what do you do when you're feeling uninspired or overwhelmed or on days where you're empty or have no voice. Sometimes I will teach the sorts of things that I leave for subs. So for example, I like to leave instrument bingo for some subs. I like to leave a couple, not all that tricky, but doable games or things for subs. And so it works better for the sub if the kids have tried it once before. So for example, I like to do some QR code games sometimes. So if I have like an off day, I'll say, bring your iPads, let's try and explore and see what that's like. And so on days where it's truly a sub, I usually have like a video that explains like, here's how you log in, blah, blah, blah. But if I can do it with the kids once, then if they need to do it again later, it's so much easier. So for example, this next week, I have a couple weird off the rotation days. So one of my grades, we're going to talk about you bringing in your iPads. How do you scan the QR? What do you do? All of that stuff is going to be like Christmas themed, winter themed. But then if I'm like gone in February or March, I can make it Valentine's Day themed or St. Patrick's Day themed, and they can use the same process, but they sort of already know how to do it. So those are things that I like to do, either things that we have done before, things that are similar to things we've done before, so like dances that are similar to dances we've already done, or games that are similar to games we've already done, or bring back like totally wind lesson, like, well, maybe we'll pull out the drums because they loved doing that, or maybe we'll pull out something else because they love doing that, and we'll just try it a new way, or even just sort of rehash. Oh, that book you really love, let's do it again. Oh, we remember that song from the program, let's do it again. I'm getting off. I should finish this and go to the next point. But one thing that I did this last week was I had just finished my 5th grade concert. And in that concert, each homeroom got to do one song from the Orff volume. So like one arrangement from these books, the Music for Children. Each class got to do their own. It was different. It was cool because then like I could feature like, oh, Miss Maybell's class has this song, and these other kids also learn an instrumental song, but it's different. So they each got their own sort of thing. Well, the concert was on a Thursday. I had one random day with 5th graders on Friday where I didn't want to start with a completely new rotation on like the last day of the rotation, so I had to sort of have a filler day. So I didn't want to come up with anything brand new or really stress myself out to try and make it work because we had just finished a program. So when they came in, I said, it is stealing day. So you learned your song for your class, and the other 3 songs you did not get to learn because the other classes got to learn them. But today, you get to steal one of their songs. We only have one day, and in that day's time, you get to choose which of the other classes we're going to try and steal. We are going to learn that song as best we can in 1 hour. At the end of the hour, we are going to film it and send it to them. And you get to say, ooh, we took your song. They loved it. Thankfully, of the 3 choices for the other 3 homeroom classes that we had, they chose the easiest song to learn, so it worked pretty well. But even if it hadn't, we would have just processed through as quickly as we could and taught the song, recorded it, and would have seen where we got. We'd see where we get. It was super fun. Kids really enjoyed it, and it worked pretty well. Okay, one last question because we're almost out of time. But Holly says, how do you approach or find balance concert prep and content delivery? And my answer is, my concerts are based on the content that I teach in that grade level. So, for example, I'm a little stressed because my 2nd grade concert is early February. It's going to be kind of themed around fairy tales, fantasies, called Once Upon a Time. And so I take songs that we have been learning through the year. I just maybe retheme them or change them a little bit, or I just plan on teaching those songs early in the year so they match the content that's coming up. And so I just pull things that we've already done. I don't teach all brand new stuff that gets thrown away at the end of the concert. It's all stuff that is curricular. So we play an instrument song that is curricular that we have that fits in with the grade level curriculum. We learn songs that follow along with the grade level curriculum. So my 5th graders, we just did a concert where it started and ended with a big group song on the risers, but both of those songs had 2 different parts. They had either canonic movement or they had harmonies. So they were grade level. They were on grade level. They pushed them a little bit. It was a little bit of a push for the range too, so that was all sort of on grade level. And then each class got an instrumental piece, again, based on what they should be able to handle with their content level, and they got to show that off for their parents. Nothing that we did for the concert is something that I wouldn't have done otherwise. It's just stuff that I sort of pulled together and rethemed together as a concert. That doesn't work if you do a canned musical as well, because then you are taking time away from your whatever. But it works if you plan it in, themed in. So, for example, a couple years ago, I did an ocean-themed concert. So leading up to that, all the songs that we were doing were ocean-themed, and they were right on grade level, but they just happened to be ocean-themed, or they were themed in a way that we could make them ocean-themed. So, for the ocean concert, we did a song about being in the deep sea. We did a movement activity to something that was underwater. We did an instrument exploration that was themed around that. And let's see, we did something where we took the story and instead of it being about XYZ, we made it about the ocean. So we might have changed one element. My 5th graders just did a song, just did a concert about the local news. And so one of the songs, the original song, it was about a cat. Well, we made it about a lost class pet. So instead of it being about a cat that was lost, it was about a snake or a gerbil or something that's on the loose. So we just changed a couple elements to make things that we were already grade level fit in with the concert theme. again, it's tricky depending on how you format your concerts, but the more that you can just pull things that you're already going to do in class anyway and already know how to teach and already have the scaffolding for, it's going to be easier to put those concerts together. It's going to be more gratifying for kids, and you're going to be able to infuse it a little more simply. So a lot of the things that I am going to perform in the spring, I've already started teaching in the fall because it's that grade level content. And so maybe I'll change a couple things along the way, but mostly it's the same stuff that we've already sort of learned. Okay, that's many, if not all of the questions y'all have left for me this week. So I'm going to take a break, and I'm going to see y'all again in January. So if you want more Musical Mondays content and you're like, oh no, it's the end of the semester, guess what? I've been doing this now for, I think this is my 5th year or 6th year doing this. I can't remember. But you can go back and watch all the archives and be like, December stuff, there are more videos, so go back and check those out, or podcasts too. If you are interested in that, you can find that on my blog, makemomentsmatter.org. /video, or you just click the video drop down. And if you are in the Des Moines area, I'm going to be at Simpson College on January 20th for a workshop there. So we'd love to see you and have you join us. If you're in Des Moines or wanna be in Des Moines, Iowa, you can come and join us at Simpson College. That's coming up. But I'm going to be off for the next couple weeks, and I will see y'all again for another Musical Mondays starting in early January. Have a great, wonderful winter break, and I will see y'all later. Bye, everyone.